Alright, so we talked last time about solving radical equations, so we're actually going to try a few now. Remember the key points: you want to isolate the root, raise both sides to the reciprocal power, be careful for roots, like taking a square root or a fourth root, add plus or minus, and then solve, check for extraneous solutions. So let's try number one, solve and check. So first off, we want to isolate the root. Just like in algebra class, we want to get rid of the 1 and then a 2, so we subtract 1 from both sides. X minus 3 to the 2/3 equals 32. And then we're going to divide both sides by 2. Divide both sides by 2, that makes a 1. So we're going to get x minus 3 to the 2/3 equals 16. Alright, now here's the step we haven't seen as much. Remember, that's going to be, we're going to raise both sides to the reciprocal power. The reciprocal power. So 2/3, I'm going to raise that to the 3 halves. Raise both sides to the 3 halves. And so what we have here, remember we take a power to a power, we'll just write this out for the first time. To have a power to a power, you're going to get x minus 3. You're going to multiply these, so 2/3 times 3 halves. And then we're going to get 16 to the 3 halves here. But what is this? Well, that's just going to become 1 over 1, so you're just going to get x minus 3 equals. Now, we're going to look very carefully here. Because this is a 2, we're actually taking the square root of this side. We're actually taking the square root. So we're going to add a plus or minus. And remember, we practiced rewriting these guys so that they could work out nicely. So I'm going to rewrite this 4 squared. 4 squared to the 3 halves. Now that I've done that, I can multiply power to power, so the 2's are going to become just 1. So x minus 3 equals plus or minus 4 to the 3rd power. 4 to the 3rd power. 4 times 4 times 4, so 64. And then we add 3 to both sides. So we get x equals 3 plus or minus 64. Therefore, x is going to equal 3 plus 64, or x equals 3 minus 64. So x equals 67, or x equals negative 61. All right, let's go ahead and check these real quick. So let's do 67. Let's go ahead and plug in 67 right at the very beginning again. So let's put 67 in here. Let's just do this quickly. So 2 times 67 minus 3 to the 2/3 plus 1. Does that equal 33? Well, let's check. So 67 minus 3 is 64. It's 2 times 64 to the 2/3 plus 1. Does that equal 33? Well, 64 to the 2/3. I could do 64 squared and cube root that, or I could cube root 64 first. So let's rewrite that. So that's going to be 4 cubed to the 2/3 plus 1. So the 3's are going to become just 1, so we get 4 squared here. 4 squared is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. Plus 1 does equal 33, so it looks like 67 checks out. Let's try the 61 now. 2 times, sorry, negative 61. Negative 61 minus 3 to the 2/3 plus 1. Does that equal 33? Well, we get negative 61 minus 3, so 2 times negative 64 to the 2/3 plus 1. Does that equal 33? So let's rewrite this as something to the 3rd power. Negative 64 is going to be negative 4 to the 3rd power. And the 3's are going to cross off. So we're going to get negative 4 squared. Negative 4 squared. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. 32 plus 1 does indeed equal 33. So it looks like both 67 and negative 61 are solutions. Neither one is extraneous.